We're here in celebration of the 100th anniversary of First Baptist Church of Santa Fe, and today we're speaking with
Peggy Mallow.
Hello, Peggy. How are you doing today?
Very well, thank you.
When did you become a member of First Baptist Church of Santa Fe?
A very long time ago, 1962.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, I came to Santa Fe right out of college as a new bride. Didn't know a soul except, of course, family. And when you come to a new place, you go to church because that's where you make new friends. And that's exactly what I did.
So that was what influenced you to actually become a member then?
It was a very warm church. People were very friendly. There were not a lot of Baptist churches in the area, and I came from a Baptist background.
When did you begin playing the organ for worship?
I started substituting, and then I think I started playing full-time between 1964 and 1965. And I played for Sunday morning, Sunday evening, and we had Wednesday night services, and then we had choir practice after that. So there were 4 times each week.
And you're sitting in front of this beautiful organ, and it sounds beautiful too. Can you tell me about the purchase of the organ?
Well, when I first started playing, we had a very old Hammond, and if anybody who knows anything about organs, it was very small, about probably a third this size. It did have 2 manuals, but it was dying, and it would make crazy sounds sometimes in the middle of the service. In the middle time you were playing, it would honk, and it was terrible. It finally died, and I was on the committee that was tasked with looking for a new organ. And so we went several places listening to different kinds of organs, and we finally settled on this one. At that time, it was state of the art. It emulated a pipe organ at that period in time. And so we did not have the facilities or the money for a pipe organ, and this was the next best thing.
And you've been part of the music ministry in the past. Can you recount some of your favorite memories of being part of that?
Well, I loved working with the children's choirs, which I did. I played for lots of weddings and lots of funerals, and all of those were really very, very special. Some of them stand out more than others, but I will never forget the time that I played the wedding march through about, it seemed like 10 times, and the bride didn't come in, nor neither did the pastor. And then finally I just stopped and just started playing more of the prelude type quiet music. And here suddenly this door opened and the pastor comes in all out of breath, the groom following, and it turns out that he had car trouble, but those were the days before cell phones. So that was a fun time. But there were lots of fun times that happened at weddings. Weddings were wonderful.
Can you name some particular individuals that you worked with in the music ministry in the past?
Yes, let's see. I worked with W.A. Bradshaw and Jeff Brewer. There were several. Those 2 kind of stand out. W.A. especially. W.A. challenged me as a musician more than anyone I worked with all through the years. And I played for 37 years, so there were quite a few. But he never allowed me to say I couldn't play something. He made me work on it, and he would work with me until I felt comfortable with it. There was no excuse that it was too difficult. You learned the music. So he made me grow as a musician.
And then the other person that you mentioned, what was his name again?
Jeff Brewer. Jeff did a lot of, we did a very fabulous musical that was open to the entire community while he was here. And we did it for 3 nights straight to packed houses, to a packed house. And that was one of the main, really, things that I remember well in the music program. We did a lot of Easter musicals, we did a lot of Christmas things, but that was a really big production. I considered the time that I played the organ and sometimes the piano occasionally in this church as a ministry. And Nancy and I were not paid until we had played for 19 years. And then after that, they decided that they felt like the church wanted to pay us. And so I think they paid us $11 a week. But the amount is not important. The important part is that it was a ministry to the church, and we loved doing it. And it was I wasn't that talented or felt that I was that talented, but I could play, and I wanted to make my contribution.
Here we are in a children's classroom. For many years, First Baptist Church of Santa Fe operated a children's center. Peggy Mallow, could you tell me how that began and how you were involved?
Yes. I was an elementary school teacher at the time, and this was in the 60s, and I was not teaching because I had a young daughter at home, and I sensed a real need for preschool education in Santa Fe. Things then were not the way they are now. There is no public school kindergarten. There is only one preschool kindergarten in town, and that was at the Presbyterian Church that I'm aware of. And so I approached the church about starting something, and they were agreeable. And so I started it in 1969. I had one assistant, and we did everything. We were the janitor, we did all the teaching, we ordered all the materials, and that's how it began, as only a kindergarten for 5-year-olds. And it was half day. They came at 9 and left at noon.
And how many adults were needed to staff the Children's Center over the years?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, when we first started, there were only the 2 of us. And as we grew, we added more staff and we added more classes. And when I left after 13 years in 1982, we had 9 teachers, and we had preschool classes for ages 2 through 5, and then daycare in the afternoons. At the time that we had the Children's Center, the petitions, we used this same space that they use for Sunday school now, this whole wing actually. The petitions were not here. We had folding doors, which naturally made it a little noisier than it is with the permanent petition. But through the years, we gradually made improvements so that we were constantly getting better.
Would you consider the Children's Center a community ministry?
Absolutely, because the children did not just come from this church, they came from the entire city. I still, after all these years, run into people who had either had their children here or were children who came to the Children's Center during that period of time.
Are you involved in other groups or organizations within the church?
Well, yes. I've probably served on just about every committee here. Plus, I did do the children's choir at one point, and I've served on committees, search committees for both pastor and music minister throughout the years.
In the last 100 years, how do you see God's purpose fulfilled in First Baptist Church of Santa Fe?
Well, first of all, we're still here. I'm very proud of the fact that this ministry continued in this church for over 40 years. And there have been lots of changes. We've had a lot of different ministers, different ministers of music. But I see that we are still trying to reach people for Jesus Christ, which is our ultimate purpose.
And what are your hopes for First Baptist Church Santa Fe for the next 100 years?
Well, my hope is that First Baptist will continue to be this shining light on this hill, and that we will more and more reach out to our community for Jesus Christ.
Peggy, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.